If you've ever used Dropbox or Google Drive or OneDrive or any one of those cloud-based file sharing systems and wondered, where the heck does my data go? And you haven't gotten a little uncomfortable about just what might be happening to it, you might want to build your own cloud file storage system. And we're going to show you how to do that with a product called Nextcloud coming up next.
Welcome to Tech Topics brought to you by Cybervenger. We help keep small businesses stay protected and compliant with cutting-edge cybersecurity and IT solutions.
All right, so that's what this video is about. We're going to build a Nextcloud appliance on our own virtual infrastructure in our lab and walk you how to do it so you can do that for your own system and basically take control of your data. Have data on your server in your infrastructure that you manage and you take responsibility for. That means you have to back it up. That means you got to secure it from hackers and monitor it and do all the things. But then you know they're being done. Or at least you have more direct control over it. It's your people, your team, and there's something very satisfying about that as a manager. I like to control the data that my company has access to, and because we're ultimately responsible for it, right? It's something I don't like to delegate. Now, nothing against people who do, and there's nothing inherently wrong with Google or Dropbox or Microsoft or any of those. But there is a lot of value in having your own file share system that you control, especially when it comes to compliance, because then you could point to an auditor and say, hey, well, where's your data? I could point here, right here, that box right over here. That's where my data's at. And then, it makes it easier for compliance. So let's walk through the technical of how to do that, and then we'll get started right now in our lab. So take a look down here. All right, so first things first, we're going to need to create ourselves a new virtual machine. I'm not going to mess around with containers. We're just going to do simple virtual machine. Nextcloud 2. I've actually got a production one, so I'll just call that 2. And then we pick our operating system and default everything else. Well, slash for backups. Pick a disk. I'm going to leave that 32 gigs, and we're going to add a second drive here. And I'll make that one. Actually, you know what? Let's be lazy. I'm just trying to demo a basic point here. Let's make this, 400 gigs. That'll be my file server. CPU. It's nice to have at least 4 sockets, or 4 cores. That seems awful low, so let's say 8. Should be plenty. There we go. Okay, so we have our guest now. And then we're going to boot it and install Ubuntu. And I'm walking through the install process because, again, there's an option during the install process that makes things a lot easier than trying to install it afterwards. Okay, so here we are. All right, kind of gets stuck here, so just whack done. Now, if you're doing this for real, you probably want to encrypt it because you're gonna have data on it. But I'm just doing this for an example, so I'm gonna be lazy and skip that step. Actually, no, I'm gonna go ahead and do this anyway. I'll just do some stupid password like. There we go. There we go. Yep, wipe the data. Name. Server. Big easier. User. All right. OpenSSH is helpful to have, so I like to put that on there. Yep. All right. Here's where the magic is. Look at this. Nextcloud. It's already there. I love this particular window. I just noticed that in the middle of my screwing around with it. It's like, hey, all right. I whack the space bar and get that highlighted and tab down to done, and away we go. And just so you all know, this process takes a little longer than it does in the video. It cooks a while. I'm just pausing it for your sake. All right, now we reboot. Now you may have to remember to disconnect the CD-ROM, or it'll try booting off it over and over again. Of course, now we got to enter our password. So why you might want to do this optional. Okay, now we log in. I know we just installed this thing, but I always like to... Okay, so I know we just installed it, but it never hurts to update real quick. Okay. RAID. Okay, so now we type snap services Nextcloud. See that down here. And what that's going to do, as you see above, I already ran it, is going to show us the status of the services, just to make sure that everything showed up and working okay. Okay, so since we have our services tested, I now pointed a web browser at the IP address here of our server, and boom, look at this. We get a wizard to finish setting it up. So we pick our account name, let's just say admin for now. They'll probably want to do, like, I don't know, my admin, or just something that's not as generic as admin. And then some password. And then some password. And then click install. Okay, so we have other apps we can install. We're not going to install these other apps, calendar and all that. That's fine. You can, by all means, set them up. I just want to focus on just... Actually, this is nice here. Collaborative Nextcloud Office. Basically, any LibreOffice documents can work kind of like Office 365 online with the spreadsheets and all that. So why not? We'll throw that in there. Okay, it's all done doing the installation. So this is kind of what you get. You get your sampling of files. You get a sample time. So look at this later. Okay, so here we go. We have a listing of all our files. There's your personal files, all files, favorites. And this is the web interface. Now, of course, I know what you're thinking. Well, Dropbox has it directly on my computer. It does indeed. You can also download the agent to do just that. All right, so you can see the files here. Now we want to do the client. But before we do the client, we want to see if we can get HTTPS working here. So I already logged us in, and we are going to do the commands for that. All right, so here that is. And our command is we're just going to do nextcloud.enable HTTPS self-signed. Now, you can definitely sign the certificate if you wanted to, but that's a whole other process. I think self-sign works for most people in most situations here. We get that installed. Okay, now that we got certificate installed, now what we're going to want to do is set the domain name that it wants. Now, I'm making this one up here. So yourdomain.com. Let's just say nextcloud.cybervenger.com. And it's just configuring it that this is the domain it's supposed to be, that you're supposed to be accessing it from. So whatever you're going to access your Nextcloud server as, that's the domain you want to put here. There we go. And here it is. So nextcloud.com installs where you get your client installed. Download up here, desktop and mobile. And you want our Nextcloud files. And there it is. Pick our install. And then just go ahead and download it. You see I already have that in here because I was mucking around with it before. All right, so here's the app already installed for brevity's sake. The install is pretty straightforward. It's generally next. Hey, if anyone wants a video on how to install it, throw it in the comments. I'll be happy to do one, but I think most of you will want to skip that and figure it out yourself. Here is what it looks like. I'm signed in as my user. I can sign as in a different account. I can add an account. This is what that looks like. You log in. It wants your path, and then it's just going to want the username. So Now, here is the certificate. Because it's self-signed, it's complaining. Now, we know it's a safe site because we just built it, so we go ahead and trust it anyway. Hit OK. Then it wants us to log in, and we log in with our credentials, and away we go. All right, some basic features here. You can tell it to sync now. You can search for files. It's really not a lot to do here. The real magic, of course, is just like Dropbox or OneDrive or Google. If you go up in your favorites here, you've got a Nextcloud, just like you would have OneDrive sitting here, or Google's Drive. See, I got Google Drive here. I've got Nextcloud here, and it's just like anything else. I put all the default files in an archive folder. This is what it comes with, just some sample files, including some intro stuff that you can watch, and that's pretty much it. And then you're off and running. It really is that simple. And you just get, multiple people will share. You can have multiple users connecting to this thing, and it works, pretty similar. And you do have file locking issues like you would with Google or OneDrive. You've tried to open the same document and have issues. You kind of manage that a little bit with multiple versions. But that's basically in a nutshell. Okay, well, that's it, folks. I mean, it's pretty much straightforward if you build it right from the beginning. Bundled in with Ubuntu. That's one of my favorite distributions for Linux. And once you get up and running and you have your data there are other steps to follow up, things like backup. You want to make sure there's some kind of way to back up that virtual machine. If we're using Proxmox, there's a growing number of backup vendors that will back up through Proxmox. You can also use Proxmox backup itself, but we'll talk about all that in another video. It's also important to make sure you have some kind of EDR on that system, some electronic detection, endpoint detection and response system to make sure that if anybody gets in, that it can be detective. You may also want to include intruder protection and a third-party firewall, that kind of thing. Remember, this is going to be internet-facing in some form or fashion. Maybe it's because you have through a VPN that you're able to get to, and then you connect to it like we're doing, or maybe it's directly on the internet. It can be done that way, but it's important to take extra security steps when doing that because you're directly on the internet. So that's it. I hope that I found that video helpful. Please put some comments in there if you want to know more information about this, if you want me to do any more with this particular product. I'd love to have the motivation to do that. So I'll talk to you all in the next video.
Thanks for watching. We hope this video has provided valuable information to you. Be sure to share this video with other small business owners to spread the word about the importance of cybersecurity. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. If you want more information about cybersecurity, visit us at www.cybervenger.com.